So our first conversation on the show this hour, Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, has seen positive indicators that the economy would turn around positively in the new year. The minister stated this while giving an overview of the expected 2025 budget proposal and the medium-term expenditure framework, as well as fiscal strategy paper in Abuja. In another vein, the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Abubakar Bagudu, said the country had been underinvesting in every sector, emphasizing the need for it to invest $100 million yearly in resource development. Joining me to look at the business outlook for 2025, the role of visioning and positioning in navigating market disruptions and uncertainty is the Executive Coach and CEO, BMO Advisory Services, Bola Matal Oko. Thank you for joining us on the show this hour.
Thank you for having me.
Well, they say things are looking good for the new year, but that's usually what we hear. You know, these government people are like pastors. You know, they like preaching us to the positive sides of things. The Minister of Finance is saying that things are going to turn around good, that the key indicators or metrics are showing that there will be driving growth. How do you see businesses position themselves to take advantage of these opportunities?
So it's really about vision. Vision is really what drives individual businesses to succeed. But vision alone will not be sufficient to do that. 68% of business leaders will tell you that vision is very important in positioning yourself for success. But I think one of the things we have to focus in the new year is strategic planning. And that is to say that, okay, we have a vision, what we want to do. But how do we align our strategic plan to be able to help us bring our vision into reality? And one of the things that I, as a business owner, apart from being an executive coach, I've realized is that you have to have what I call agility in being able to do this. And agility speaks about being able to pivot, and respond to changing economic circumstances. I'm sure that you yourself would agree that in the last few years, the landscape of business, of the economy, not just in Nigeria, all over the world, has been very volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. We live in a VUCA environment. So yes, so I think it's about vision, it's about strategic planning, and it's being agile and being able to respond to changing economic situations.
I like that you use the word volatility.
Volatility,
So
yes.
when you talk about visioning and positioning, precisely how does it work in a very complex economy like Nigeria's, where you can't even tell what's going to happen the next day?
So I think when you talk about strategic planning, you have what you call long-term plans. So most companies will say they do their strategic, at this time of the year, a lot of companies are doing what they call their strategic retreat to plan for the coming year. But because of the volatile nature of the economy and the world we live in, we also have to have short-term plans and what we call short-term gains. So in planning for for next year, you also have to be able to look at and also have short-term plans, because short-term plans are more flexible. They are more easy to adapt. They are more easy to change on a fly as opposed to when you plan for the whole year. So we will still continue to have what we call our long-term vision, which is driven by our strategic objectives. But at the same time, we must have short-term plans and give ourselves, timelines for us to be able to accomplish our goals. Because those are the things that would help us to be agile and flexible in the long run.
So how do we now bridge the gap, the balance gap? Because you're talking about short-term goals. Businesses in Nigeria, how do they balance the need for short-term survival, which is critical now?
Absolutely.
With the need for long-term strategic planning that you talked about and investment, particularly in the face of what appears an economic uncertainty?
So I think it's about being able to define your vision with clarity and with purpose. Because I am a business owner, apart from being an executive coach. And I find that when people understand that they have a vision, it's easier for them to roll with you, whether it's in the short term or the long term. You'll be amazed to find that there was a study done, and 70% of employees said they would rather work in a place where they see a clearly defined vision. Because what vision does is that it gives people a focus, it gives them a drive, it gives them the incentive to be able to do the things that they need to do. So I think business leaders must be able to state with a great level of clarity what the vision is. And this vision must also be driven by purpose. Because even though many businesses, we are in business to make money, but you find that purpose also drives vision. Because your purpose is why. Why are you doing the things that you do? As a business owner, at times I say to people that my primary motivation in going to business was not to make money. And people will look at me and I'm like, yeah, because my purpose is to provide excellent service. But I know that if I provide excellent service, I will make money. So vision, there must be vision, but vision must be driven by purpose. So that is what keeps people going in the short term as well as in the long term. For employees, you would also find that understanding the clear vision of a business would make them more productive, almost 5% more productive than someone who does not know the clear, defined vision of any business.
So this vision, I guess, is cast in stone. Does it change per time based on
Oh my
reality?
God, vision is something that is the end game. But the way you get to your vision can change. That's what is flexible. For instance, who thought COVID would happen? So COVID happened and a lot of people had to kind of retweak their strategic planning and objectives, but a lot of people still had the same vision, what they wanted to accomplish. So vision, for the most part, does not really change. You can modify it here and there, but it's the way you execute. That is what has to change when you are agile and you're able to flow with the changing trends at any point in time.
Let's talk about the concept of excellence, because you touched about it earlier.
I am the excellent life coach, so why not?
Yes. Given what it takes to keep churning out excellence on a consistent basis, the prices are skyrocketing.
Absolutely.
We've seen inflation, above the roof. What do you recommend for small businesses, for instance? Would it be cutting down on the quantity, quality, or what have you? Because we see a lot of things change with this.
No. So I own a business. Apart from being an executive coach, I own a spa. And one of the things, my vision statement, we have a vision statement, is to provide excellent service in the world-class ambience. And I've had my spa now for 7 years. And one of the things that someone still said to me 2 days ago is that the consistency. Because the first impulse when things are not going well is to kind of cut back, change corners. And I don't believe that. Because especially if you're in a service business, it is to continue to offer your business at the most excellent level. Because the gain for you at the end of the day is that some people will cut back and you'll be the beneficiary of it. Because that's exactly what's happening now in my business. Because I've seen people in the same business try to cut back, don't offer the same level of excellence. But at the end of the day,
it stands you out.
It stands you out. So I would not say that. I would say continue to do what you're doing in an excellent manner. But does it mean that, but where you can really save money or optimize your financial position is to, when you come to your processes. When it comes to your processes, you can streamline your processes, you can automate your processes. AI is helping a lot of business now to be able to kind of cut back on their expenses. So as far as your processes, your operations, the things you do, you can work on that and make them more optimized, not necessarily less excellent. You can optimize your processes, but still maintain the same level of excellence.
With the decision to be consistent with excellence, I envisage the cost driving up, especially within this business environment. It means, therefore, that you would probably be charging more. How do you retain customers?
So, the thing is that people appreciate good service, right? And especially where you don't have a monopoly of it. I don't know any business in this country, anybody has a monopoly. But I can only speak as to what has worked for me. So I'm not necessarily charging more. I have not increased my prices in the last few months. But what I've done is to make my business more efficient. And I said to my staff at some point, I said, you know what? If we are servicing 5-10 people, if we're servicing 10 people in a day before, let's try and speed up our systems, not cutting back on the quality of our service, but be able to attend to more people on any given day. And that for me is what has helped me. So for every business, you have to be able to look at what is it that I can do to increase my bottom line, right? But not necessarily cut back on the service that I'm offering. Because even though things are difficult, people are always willing to pay for good service. That is something I've realized. I just went somewhere this morning and they had almost doubled their price. But I coughed it up because at the end of the day, I got the service that I wanted. So it's all about delivering consistent, excellent service, and people are always willing to pay for that.
But saying that you have not changed your price in the past 3 months sounds too good to be true. Because each time I go to the market, I see this changes. So how have you been doing?
Well, it doesn't mean I'm not going to change it going into the new year, but I'm just saying that.
That sounds a bit
but
more
you know, no. But let me tell you what it is. And I don't know if I should be saying this, but people get addicted to a certain level of service. Okay. And by the time they are addicted to that level of service, they will, by the time you increase your prices, they will pay for it. Because it's happened to me.
But that's because they can afford it. I can love your service so much, but then what happens if I can't afford it?
But you know, this is the thing though. I was talking to event planners the other day, and we're talking about this. But you know that your service is not for everybody. Your service is not for everybody. Everybody has their own niche, right? So whether or not you increase your services, your prices rather, there are people who are in your niche that would still be able to afford it. So even as an executive coach, the moment I give someone a coaching proposal and they say to me, I can afford it, I know that this is not my ideal client. Your ideal client will always be able to cough out what you are charging for your service. I always ask the question, what is the definition, what is the value of a service? What is the value of a service? If I ask you, what is the value of a service? The value of a service is what a customer or a client is willing to pay for it at any point in time. And it varies, right? For instance, let's take gas or petrol as a commodity. Do you know that today you can say, I'm not going to pay 1,000 naira for petrol, but then tomorrow you will pay 1,005. Why? Scarcity drives up the price. So, especially going into New Year, there are certain services that become scarce. People will pay more for it.
Indeed. Very interesting way you've put it. So the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning has emphasized the need for Nigeria to invest about $100 million yearly in resource development. So I'm looking at, what do you tell small business owners, especially as to accessing all of these investment opportunities that we're hearing from government, and how that can contribute to their growth?
So, you know, for a lot of small businesses, they are not even aware of these opportunities. That's even the saddest part of it. Like I said, I was at a seminar and the minister was talking about some opportunities that were open to that sector of the economy, and a lot of them did not know it. So the first thing is that they need to even have a sense of awareness as to all these opportunities. And then once you have a sense of awareness, you must be able to evaluate them and begin to determine the ones that will serve you better. Because the truth is that the fact that there's an opportunity, the fact that it's a product doesn't mean it's best suited to what you do. So it's all about evaluating what works for me, right? And then if you understand that, then that's when you can take advantage of these opportunities, because every problem always creates an opportunity. Yeah. And I always use the example of Amazon. Amazon took a lot of my money during COVID, because during COVID, a lot of people could not go to the stores. And Amazon, that was when Jeff Bezos became a trillionaire for the first time. So there are always opportunities, even in a VUCA environment or economy like what we have now. There are people that would look and see a problem, and other people will look and see a solution. It's all about taking advantage of the situation.
Does it require you to shut down for a while to be able to see what you haven't seen in the course of the year?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say shut down. You might, so one of the things I always say to people, that in your business, there are times that you have to kind of shut down certain aspects of it. That's possible. I did it at one time, just to be able to evaluate, is this productive? If it's not productive, are there things I need to tweak to make it more productive? So certainly that is. But for any business owner, I am a business owner. At this point, I am already looking at next year, and I'm thinking, what are the things I need to do? What are the things I need to cut back on? How am I going to optimize my business? So those are all quality decisions that any business owner has to make, because at the end of the day, you are in business to make money. So if you are looking at your deliverables and you are not delivering, as it were, then it is time maybe to step back and say, you know what, maybe I need to do things a bit differently, because they say it's insanity to keep doing the same thing and you get the same results. So you might have to take that one step back and say, what can I do to get a different result? There's no question. These are challenging times that we are in, but I also understand that in the midst of all these challenges, there are opportunities.
Absolutely.
And it takes a lot of, careful evaluation to be able to take advantage of those opportunities.
So FEC yesterday approved the proposed 2025 budget. It's a lot. It's about 36% more than the spending plan last year.
Yeah.
Where do you think the money will be going to in the new year? Perhaps you have, the ability to see.
I don't have a crystal ball.
And the sectors where you think people really have to play.
I'm hoping agriculture. Honestly, I'm really hoping agriculture, because especially with the rise of the exchange rate, I think we really need to look inwards. And I feel like one of the areas we can look inwards is agriculture. Someone said to me the other day is that we seem to produce nothing and we import everything. And that's really the problem that we have. So I'm hoping it will go to agriculture. I'm hoping a lot of that money will be directed towards, growing our own economy internally, as opposed to having to continuously rely on things that are brought in. I have a friend who has a business, and she was saying to me that she has really profited from this, skyrocketing exchange rate, because what she produces locally, people can't bring it in because the prices are just through the roof. So I'm really hoping that in the next year, our budget will focus on growing our own economy so that we are not so dependent on importation, which is really what's driving up the prices. Because if you go to the store and you pick up, any item at any point in time, they will tell you that the exchange rate has gone up. But if we are focusing on, our own economy and producing things locally, then whether the exchange rate goes up or not should not really affect.
Sounds like this is the part of the positioning you're talking about, being able to identify where the money is going to.
Absolutely. And take advantage of it, yes.
And positioning yourself to take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
Very interesting conversation we're having right here. Let us look beyond. Many businesses are limited by many of these volatile factors that we've talked about, but some have been able to stand
weather the storm.
Weather the storm and stay as long as you can imagine. Have we been able to identify, beyond the things we've discussed, some of those factors that have determined the staying power?
Resilience. Resilience is so important, and one of the things that makes you resilient is vision, right? And I found that a lot of people, because they do not have what I call long-term vision, the moment they hit a bump in the road, they kind of fold up. I remember that there was a time just after COVID that I wasn't making money in my business, but I was just focused on my long-term goals, my long-term vision. So, and it's just resilience. Whether it's, individually, whether it's a business, resilience is big, because resilience is the ability to bounce back after you go through a tough time, And I don't know anybody in business that hasn't gone through a tough time in the last 3 years. Some people have that resilience and they're able to bounce back. Some people are like, I can't really do this anymore. So I think at the end of the day, that's really what makes a difference, your ability and your agility to be able to say, I am resilient enough to bounce back from this.
Good place to live it. Executive coach, CEO, BMO Advisory Services.
We didn't even talk about executive coaching. Yeah.
Oh, executive coaching. Yes, which of course is where you make your money, right?
No.
So just before we go, just 1 minute. What are your thoughts in that line, especially how important do you think that is for businesses?
Executive coaching is so important because one of the things that coaching gives you is clarity. Because this vocal environment has caused a lot of people to have what I call their sight is so clouded, they don't even know what they need to do. So executive coaching is great. I have a coach, I'm a coach, I have a coach, and it has helped me gain clarity even on the things that I want to do on a personal level. So it's very, very important.
And I'm guessing you're recommending that every business should have a budget for that in the new year. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me. This has been a really, really very
absolutely
interesting conversation.
Good to have you here. Hope we have you again in the new year. Still to come.